Hey guys, well I have been meaning to do this video. I actually started it and just couldn't get it finished. I also have thought about not doing this video. This is my video, of course it's in the title, but for the 2025 YouTube All-Star. Um, Part of me just didn't want to do it because there are several people that I just can't add. I just don't have enough space, and there are people that I watch everything they post and I comment and have, feedback and go back and forth, and you just don't have enough for everybody, and so I thought about just not doing this for that reason. But at the same time, I just felt like I did want to honor some and just appreciate some different channels for some different things, and so that, you know what, I'm just gonna do it, and we'll just I apologize in advance if you're not mentioned. It obviously has nothing to do with uh, uh, whether or not I love your channel or not. It just these lists are tough. So, but I do want to give shout outs to 22 people. I'm doing it. The reason this video is going to be so long is because I plan on showing cards for each one that kind of represent them or something about something that I enjoy from their channel, or something that kind of tells you something about them. So I want to do that, and I've limited myself to 2 for each person so that I can try to not make this take too long. But anyway, let's start with the rookies. This year I've got 2. For the 2 rookies, I wanted to do 2 of the guys that came in almost like the same time that I did. One of them is John from Nerding Out with Cards. John's a big Ozzie Smith guy. So if you watch his channel, you will be you'll get to see a lot of Ozzie Smith. This is a Fleer Ultra from '92. I actually pack pulled this a couple months back, and pretty sweet Ozzie Smith card. He's a big Cardinals fan. You'll see a lot of other Cardinals as well. One of the other guys you'll see a lot of is Stan Musial. And this is my 1960 Stan Musial. This is for my Hall of Fame binder, and when John knew that Musial was one of the guys on my list that I didn't have yet, he asked me which one I was going to choose, and so when I bought this, I actually told him first. He was the first one who knew that I had picked this up. He knew before I showed it on my channel. So that's John, Nerding Out with Cards. Great channel, great guy. Big Cardinals fan, but we don't hold that against him. My next rookie is Jeff at Fine Card Collector. Jeff, Jeff kind of, you have to be careful with Jeff. He kind of makes you look bad sometimes. At least he makes me look bad sometimes. He puts out these fantastic videos. He puts so much work and time into them, and I'm like one of these point your camera and shoot guys. But anyway, he did a series on the 80s cards, the top 100 80s cards. It's not his list, it's Beckett's list, but I still harassed him for it because this was one of the cards that was on the list, and in my opinion, this is the #1 card from the 1980s. Now I understand some argument could be made for the Griffey from the '89 Upper Deck, and so I could have seen a list having Ricky at #2, but I think he was at #5 or something. And if you think this is the 5th best card of the 1980s, someone needs to check over that list. Anyway, that's Jeff. He's actually from Chicago, big Bulls fan, big Michael Jordan fan. So I thought I'd show Michael Jordan from my personal collection. The only time I've ever sent cards in for grading. This was one of the cards I sent. My son wanted to send a Pokemon card, so I picked out a few of my basketball cards from when I was a kid. Jeff, not sure if you have that one, but that's the Michael Jordan from the Fleer Metal. That's his All Millennium. That's actually Metal Universe, but anyway. Just a great card. Great Jordan card. If you're a Jordan collector, that's a good one to have. So that's him. Third, let's start with, now we're done with rookies, and so I'm going into All-Stars. And you'll notice with the All-Stars that I've actually got a couple rookies here. I just couldn't fit enough rookies in the 2, and so I'm like, you know what, that's okay. I'm just going to put some of the rookies in my All-Stars, and that will that'll make me feel a little bit better anyway. So one of those is Jay, average vintage collector. Jay is a police officer, and so I thought that I shared some of these a few weeks back. I don't remember if I shared this one in particular, but this is from my childhood. I stood outside of a police station, met Officer Todd Engstrom, and I got him to sign my card. So anyway, just these are cool cards. Appreciate Jay, not just for the cards, but also for his service. So Jay, that's awesome. Jay also does a series on players who fought in the Battle of the Bulge, and the first guy he mentioned on that was Warren Spahn, and so I thought that I should show a Warren Spahn. This is from the 59 set. 59 Warren Spahn for Jay, average vintage collector. Second on my all-star list, Andy from Andy's Attic. Andy is one of the most unique personalities on here. I love watching his videos. Very, very humorous, a lot of fun to watch. We were watching one of his videos. I was watching one of his videos as I was sorting cards. My son was in the room, and he was enjoying Andy's hat. It was during his Dave Parker series. I'm not going to show Dave Parker. I'm going to show a couple of others. One of them is Willie Stargell. This, I believe, is Andy's favorite player. He's a big Pirates fan like I am. And so that is a pretty nice Willie Stargell. Not sure if you have that one, Andy. Pretty cool card, though. Also, Andy's a big fan of the discs, the Italy discs, or the Crane discs. And so I thought maybe I'd show one of those. I know you have this one, Andy, but that's one of my Manny Sanguian Crane discs. Andy's got such a broad collection. It's so cool to see some of the stuff he shares. So, Andy, that's for you. All right, Brent, over at Brent Richards Baseball Cards. One of the things I love about Brent is the positivity he brings, and even when feels like he needs to say something about something negative in the hobby, I feel like he always has a good spin to it. In fact, one of his spins to it, he had a recent video on the state of the hobby and just talked about videos and collectors and just encouraged people to do these all-star videos. But he also shows some just amazing cards. I've learned a lot from him about cards that I completely missed just because I was out of the hobby during the mid and late 90s. So some of the cards he shows are these hometown heroes. I've got the Griffey. Ken Griffey Jr. It's got this sweet hollow image on the front. If you know Brent Richards' channel, you know he loves the shine. Speaking of shine, one of the cards I also bought, completely influenced by Brent, and I have shown this before. My Gypsy Queen, Andrew McCutcheon. I gotta tell you, they don't get much shinier than that one. What an awesome card. So he showed this of a different player, someone from the Astros, and I was like, I wonder if they have one of those in McCutcheon, and sure enough they do. So, and now I do. Pretty awesome. So thank you, Brent, for that. Thank you for your continued positivity and showing just awesome cards. All right, Jason, everyday card collector. Jason is one of the guys that he's got a fantastic channel, of course, but he's also just super generous and encouraging of different people in the hobby. And when I first started making videos, he was one of the guys early on who really encouraged me. And so when I went to Strongsville, he brought me a card. This is the card. I've shown it before. It's from the Topps Giants set, Orlando Cepeda, great Hall of Famer. He apologized because it had some paper loss on the back, and I was like, man, this card is amazing. Like, that image is fantastic. You can still read everything on the back. It's just a little tear. I'm used to flipping cards the other direction. It's got a little tear. It doesn't matter. It doesn't harm the card at all. What a great card. A couple great images. Jason is a big White Sox fan. Likes a Nellie Fox, so I thought maybe I'd show my 62 Nellie Fox. This is also out of my Hall of Fame binder. This is my Nellie. When I was looking for Nellie Fox and trying to pick which one I wanted, this was one that I targeted, actually, the 62. Just love it, love the background, the image on it. Just a great card. It's Jason. Lou over at Godlike Collectibles. Lou's a great guy. One of the things that I love about Lou is when he talks about cards and the players that he collects, there's so much about the history of that, you know, and the people from like the Latin players and so forth that he talks about. So I thought maybe I'd just pick out a couple of those. Of course, one of his favorites is Roberto Alomar. That's him sliding, not him catching. In case you didn't know, I'm sure you did. He is from Puerto Rico. Roberto Alomar, great player, great card. He also is a fan of Rico Cardi, and he like me loves these the big All-Star rookie cards, the All-Star rookie trophies that are on the cards. These ones they have in the Topps card, I like that they still do them, but man, they look like participation trophies, if I'm being honest. So I just appreciate those cards. I love the Topps rookies. So thank you for showing off your cards, Lou, and continuing to tell the story and just getting me excited about all those different players and so forth. Keith over in the Lonely Basement baseball cards. I ran into Keith at Strongsville out on the floor, and before I did, I picked up a card. I'd watched his videos enough to know that he was a big Don Mattingly fan, and also that he was a big fan of cards that are kind of, you know, not your Topps and Fleer and Donruss. And growing up in the 80s and 90s, if you collected, you'll know that pretty much everybody had baseball cards, including Rite Aid. So anyway, I ran into this card at a table, immediately thought of Keith, picked it up, and then I'm telling you, an hour later, maybe on the floor, I ran into him, and I said, "Oh, I just picked up the Rite Aid Don Mattingly." "Oh, I have that card." Of course, he has that card. I think he has most Don Mattingly cards, but that's a pretty cool one. He's a big Yankees fan, and he just showed a Phil Rizzuto that he picked up. So I was chatting with him on his channel about like in the comment section about my Rizzuto. This was the one when I saw Rizzuto. When I started looking at his cards, I wanted the 54. I love this card with the red background and the great action shot of him jumping up and catching that ball. Nice headshot of him. 54 is a beautiful set anyway, and this 54 is just, this 54 Rizzuto, just such a great looking card. That's Keith. And oh, by the way, Keith, when I send cards, I know I use the blue tape. Blue tape. Gannon over at JGA 59, another one of my all-star nominations. Gannon and I love the 68 Topps set. Some people do not like it. I do not understand. I think they're fantastic cards, so I thought I would show a couple of mine. How about Ed Matthews? Perhaps his final playing day card. I'm not sure. I meant to look that up before I did this video and then forgot, but it's certainly close to the end of his career. That's the 68 Ed Matthews, great looking card. And on the other end of his career, toward the beginning of his career, very young looking Don Sutton from 1968. This was a card that was gifted to me by a friend. Fantastic card. I love this card. Probably my favorite of my Don Suttons. That's Gannon over JGA 59. John P. collects cards. John P. I enjoy John's channel. I really enjoy also what he does with Steve, the bargain hunters over at Vintage on Vintage. We'll get to him in a little bit, but I just like the way John collects, the way he talks about cards, talks about how cards speak to him all the time, and I feel that cards speak to me as well. Big Yankees fan, so I thought I'd pull out a couple of Yankees. Here's Enos Slaughter from the 57 set. The first set that is what has become the standard size of Topps cards. But a few years before that, how about a Johnny Mize 52? Great looking card. Holding about 20 bats, I think, over his shoulder. What a great looking card. John P. Now, Rob Cash Cards. Rob's a fun guy to watch. He's so positive, energetic. Love watching him rip packs. Enjoy that. He always has some fun music to go along with it. Big Reds fan. Could have picked a bunch of Reds. I mean, come on now. Reds have plenty of Hall of Famers. Reds have plenty of great players that aren't Hall of Famers. But how about a Joe Morgan? Love Joe Morgan anyway as a player. Love his cards. 1974. So I made sure I picked one from, of course, his years with the Reds. Big Red Machine. Also, one of the things that I don't want to just pick cards that are like for their players, but things that they've influenced me to buy, that different ones have influenced me to buy. And Rob has been going on the OPG kick, and so I'd watched enough, you know, and I said I'm going to go pick out some OPGs. So I went and grabbed a Manny Sanguillen from 75. This is a nice OPG. If you can't tell from the front, you can tell from the back. Definitely a different color, but that's one of my Sanguillen OPGs. Bought. I'm under the influence. It's Rob, so thank you very much for that. All right, Shane Shoebox Legends. Shane Shoebox Legends. Shane has a lot of interesting aspects to his collecting. And a couple of them, I thought I'd highlight a couple of them that have really excited me when I see his cards. He's very excited about bridge players, players who played in the Negro Leagues and then came over into the major leagues. Of course, one of the early ones was Monty Irvin. So this is my 55. Monty Irvin, great player. Love this card. And I am going to show some new cards that I have not shown before, and I'm about to show you one of those now. One of the other things he does is the buybacks and the archive signature series, and he was showing one of those a couple weeks ago and kind of felt the same way I did about the OPG. He's like, I need to get one of those. And I wanted to get one again of a Manny Sanguillen because that's my player, and found this one. Look at that. What a great card. Shane, thank you for showing these all the time, just getting me excited. You know, they have different ones of this. I'm thinking about popping it out of this case, actually. The case is a little bit scratched up. I'm not really sure if I should or not, but I've certainly considered it. Great auto there from Sanguillen. It's numbered to 99. From 1981 Topps. Great card. That's for Shane Shoebox Legends. All right. Aaron over at Value Vintage Cards. Aaron is one of those guys that is constantly encouraging, first of all, and just shows amazing stuff, like amazing cards. And every time I watch his videos, I go to eBay just to see kind of price check and see if there's something. So I thought I'd show some cards that are not your normal cards. Aaron's a big fan of the exhibits. I do have one exhibit. This is my only one to Harmon Killebrew. It's one of my few graded cards, but came in a $10 value box. I want to ask you how you could turn down a Harmon Killebrew exhibit for $10. Can't do it. Can't do it. One more, and I said I had some new cards. I think this is my last new card for the video. I'll correct myself later if I need to. But this is also a first for me, because this is my first Cons card. The Wiener the World Awaited. Picked this up off of a Facebook sale. Ben Mizell wanted to get a pirate, of course. The Cons. Great looking card. Smells kind of funny. Aaron, thank you for continuing to show those cards and just be the encouragement that you are. I enjoy all your stuff and hope to pick up more in the future. Steve, I said I'd get to him. Vintage on Vintage 817. He's a big Hank Aaron fan, of course. This is Hank Aaron looking all wrong in the Brewers. But 75, great looking card anyway. One of those cards that I just definitely wanted to pick up. I know it's not him in the Braves, which is, something that I actually, embarrassingly, I still don't have a Hank Aaron in the Braves. I have 2 of him playing for the Brewers. I have his final playing day card as well, but I pulled out this 75 instead. Great looking card. Also a big Dodgers fan is Steve, so how about a Duke Snider? Another 59 tops, actually. Duke Snider. Great looking card. Steve's a great guy. Does the bargain hunters, which I love the bargain hunters. And I don't think there's anybody on YouTube who can guess a grade more accurately than Steve. It's funny. It's incredible watching. So I don't do a lot of grading, but I like watching grading videos. I like watching, especially people like Steve, who's so good at it, but also is very positive about the whole experience, and so I enjoy that. Warren D in the CLE. Warren D in the CLE is most definitely an all-star. And so I could have gone a couple different ways here. I thought probably I should go for an Indian, Cleveland Indian, CC Sabathia. Warren, I met Warren at Strongsville, and we were talking about what we collect, and he hadn't seen my channel yet, and so because I was like 2 weeks in or something, and so he was asking me what I collect. I said, well, I collect some vintage, and I like some of the the junk wax stuff. I don't like the term, but everybody knows what that is, and he said He said, you just keep on showing that. He said, everybody in this room has some. They just don't share them. And so I think in honor of that, Warren, how about a Kenny Lofton Rookie Cup, the All-Star Rookie Cup from 93 tops. That's pretty much right smack dab in the middle of that, or actually maybe more toward the tail end of the junk wax, but still going pretty strong in 93. Great player, great card, Kenny Lofton. 2 more in the All-Stars, and then we'll get to the coaches. Jim Faulkner, 5714 collector. There are not many people on here who have more Nolan Ryan cards. Actually, I almost went and picked out a different one. He was just talking about the one with Ryan throwing the football, which is a really fun card. But I love this card of Nolan Ryan with the triple action shot. They had a few different players. They have Ricky Henderson and Griffey. I'm not sure who else, but love the triple image here of Nolan Ryan in the upper deck. Of course, you get him on the back with the stripes on his shoulders. You can see really clearly. So Jim's a huge Nolan Ryan fan. Has just a ton of Nolan Ryan collectibles, really. I mean, tons of his cards, but other things as well. So that's super cool. I actually picked up a magazine that I had, a similar one that I'd seen on his channel. But the other thing you're going to see a lot of on Jim's channel, every Sunday he does, he highlights, he's collected the entire 72 top set. And every time he does it, there are more of his cards that more of those 72s that I just want to pick up. They're such good looking cards. So I thought I should show a 72 card, and it's a Baltimore Oriole card, and so that's Frank Robinson playing for the Orioles, which he did for quite a few years. I mean, not his whole career or anything, but Jim's also a Baltimore Orioles fan, so seemed fitting. A 72 Baltimore Oriole. If you have not seen Jim's videos on the 72 top set, it is so fun because he goes through them, and it doesn't matter if the player played 1 year or 15 or 20, it just loves them all. So he just talks through each one, gives little tidbits of information. So I really enjoy that series. Jason, basement card collector. I really enjoy Jason's channel. He does such a good job of talking about other collectors when he receives gifts once in a while, and when he does this whole video on cards in his collection that remind him or make him think of that person that sent him. And they're such cool videos. He shows a lot of other stuff as well. Quite a wide collection in a lot of ways, but collects a lot of cards that not necessarily highly valuable cards, just neat cards. So thought I should show a couple of his players. Andre Dawson, thought maybe I'd show a couple Andre Dawson. Here's the 91 Fleer Ultra. Great image. I mean, I know some of the later Fleer Ultra cards, kind of they're shinier and all that, but man, there are some really great images on these 91 Fleer Ultra, and Andre Dawson is one of those. I could have picked some Andre Dawson when he played for the Expos, but when I think of Andre Dawson, I think of him as a Cub. And the first card that will almost always come to mind when I'm thinking of Andre Dawson is this one right here. Jason, I know you like the 89. Keep that right up there in front and center. But I love the 88 card. It's such a... And probably partly because I started collecting really around this 87, 88. And so I had a lot of 88 tops. And so that's probably why the 88 more than anything else. But love that Andre Dawson card. All right, so that means 5 left, down to my coaches. So for coaches, I tried to pick people. Of course, this is where you can choose people who are in the Hall of Fame. And I wanted to choose some coaches who I feel like actually coach. Not that there aren't a lot of guys who do that, but I wanted to pick 5 guys who educate on their channel and who use kind of their platform to do that for others, and guys whose videos I like to watch. So there's lots of people who fit into that category, of course. But of course, I'm going to begin with the president, the hobby president, John Mangini. And I'm going to show 2 of the same player, 2 Manny Sanguians. But I have a reason for both of them. I'm not just showing them because I like them. I'm also showing them because he likes them. And this is what I wanted to talk about. Mangini does a lot of good things to help coach people, to educate. There's a lot of videos where he's just teaching people and talking about history or collecting, all these things. Just great stuff. But he's also open to questions and stuff like that. So I was watching one of his videos, and I had just finished the Topps run for Manny Sanguian, and I wanted to just see some of the other stuff that he had. I knew that Mangini is a Pirates fan. He had talked about Manny from time to time, and so I knew that he would have his stuff. And so I just asked him in the comment section, hey, could you show some stuff? And so he did this follow-up video where he talked about, he's got all of his stuff in like sets. He doesn't have like a box of Manny Sanguian stuff. Like he's got it all in different sets, and so it's not easy to just go pull them out. And so he would just show some over time. But he did show, I think, 2 things in that video. But then the next day, that was on a Thursday. So then the next day on a Friday, this tells you how memorable it was for me. On a Friday, my feed just got blown up with photos of a bunch of different Manny Sanguian cards and items. And I honestly sat there for probably far too much of that day and just looked at pictures of the different ones that he sent. One of those was this one right here. So I thought I'd just show, this is the only one I'm going to show from what he showed that day. It's the Pepsi Cola collection for him. That's just a super cool item. And I know you can see these popped out, but I love it in the gloves, so I'm going to leave it there. And then, then I was doing a video a couple weeks ago, and I showed this card. This is another Manny Sanguian. This is from 77. It's in the Oakland A's. Terrible paint job by whoever did this, but I made a comment in the video that the 77, this is an O-Peachy, not a Topps. Sorry, I think I said Topps, but this is 77 O-Peachy, and I made a comment that the 77 O-Peachy is actually a different photo than the 77 Topps. I didn't really know why that was, but it was, and I thought that most O-Peachy were the same picture, and of course, he knows the answer, and so he comments in the comment section, just explained, this happened in 77, was really the only year that happened. It only happened to a few players. And so it was just so cool to hear him explain that, and to have, so then I can understand that. So that's really cool. Just So I just appreciate the education, the continuing education. My next one is a coach who coaches excitement more than anything else, and that is Dylan, Double D Vintage Baseball Cards. You probably have Dylan to blame for me being on YouTube. I started out listening to podcasts on baseball cards because I love baseball card content, but I would listen to podcasts while I was at work, and I listened to Mike, and I listened to Adam, and Adam and Dylan would get on together and do their podcasts. Well, I didn't know they were on YouTube. I just listened to them on podcasts. But a couple different times, Dylan made a comment that, well, I really am more of a YouTube guy than a podcast guy, so I do more videos, and so that kind of drew me to watching YouTube videos. And so I came in and found him, and good grief, his level of excitement is just as big. It's maybe even more so on video. And so anyway, I thought I'd show a couple cards. He's been showing some really cool Jackie Robinson. Thought I'd show one of my cool Jackie Robinsons. Not playing days, in case you were wondering. This is the Topps Black Gold Jackie Robinson, not numbered, nothing fancy like that. Just a cool looking card, cool looking image. This is from 2024. Yeah. So it's got a little bit of that shine in the background. Great looking card. But one other place that we are very similar is when we were collecting in the 80s. We loved these cards. It's the Turn Back the Clock cards, and this was one of the things that caught my attention when it came to vintage cards. I didn't know anything about vintage cards. I had no influence in my life as far as baseball cards were concerned. No one taught me about vintage cards. No one. But I would see these Turn Back the Clock cards, and it would pique my interest. And this was one. I have the Rickey Henderson, and I could have shown that, but I had the Rickey Henderson card, and the Rickey Henderson card was from the 80s. But this was different. This was a Turn Back the Clock card from the 60s. And so when I got back into collecting vintage cards, this was one of the ones I looked for pretty early, and it still remains one of my favorite cards. Love the '68 Bob Gibson. So Dylan, thank you for your continued excitement about the hobby. All the opinions, even when I don't agree with them, and I don't all the time. I love hearing them, just love hearing your reasoning behind what you collect and why you collect. Okay, so now we go from maybe the most energetic to who is known as the nicest guy in the hobby. And you all know who that is. It is Orlando from A Collector's Dream. How could you not nominate Orlando from A Collector's Dream? So I'm going to show two cards. Probably the first one is obvious. Martin Diego, the greatest player you've never heard of, El Maestro. Of course, I did a separate video on this one. You can feel free if you want to go watch it. I think I called it the most significant card in my collection. Told a story about my own personal life and why this card was important to me, but also talked a little bit and shared some links to Orlando sharing about this card, and more importantly about the player. And so that's Scott's card over Reindeer Studios. But fantastic looking image. The other thing I wanted to share with Orlando was this was my first Venny that I picked up. I know another Sanguian, but this is my only Venny, and he of course talks a lot about these cards, but then, and so that's very cool. I love when he shows these cards and talks about them and talks about the history, but then he even takes it to the next step. And like at the National this year, he interviewed a guy who was one of the ones who was responsible for bringing these cards over. I think maybe the biggest one. And I just really appreciated that like he took time out of his time at the National to interview a guy and post a video on his YouTube channel so that we could all, I couldn't go to the National, but I could watch a lot of the content and watch some of these interviews. And so I appreciated a lot of that from just the National footage in general, but also, of course, specifically from Orlando. So Orlando, thank you for continuing to educate and answer questions when I've had them. That I've asked on your channel. I just really appreciate that. Okay. Mike. Baseball collector Mike. Um, like I said, I listened to his podcast. I didn't really watch his videos until long after I actually finished all of his podcasts. And he's what I was trying to find podcasts on baseball cards just to kind of feed into my hunger for knowledge and stuff. And when I stumbled across his, it just everything about the vintage stuff that he shared just got me excited. So as a Pirates fan wanting to get into vintage collecting, of course there's one big player, and so one of the early cards, maybe the first, not the first, but one of the first vintage cards that I picked up was this Roberto Clemente. I love this card. Of course, it's his final card from '73. It's a fantastic card. Of course, highlighting his 3,000th hit in 1972. But I have Mike to thank for helping me get into vintage cards. So, Mike, thank you for that. Mike's favorite thing to collect is Hall of Fame autos. I have one. I have one Hall of Fame autograph, and it is of Rickey Henderson. This was actually a gift from my brother. So that's Mike. That's for you. I'm sure you have this as well. But love that card. Of course, Rickey was my main PC growing up. I still love to pick up his cards when I can, and having his rookie card with his signature on it, that's really special. All right, one more, and good grief, this video has gone on far too long. But I can't leave without mentioning Jim over at Picker Jim S. Picker Jim S. What a fantastic guy. What a fantastic collection. Does a lot of sharing and educating on cards from just kind of all over the place. Let me start with this one. He's a Red Sox fan, so I thought I'd pull out my favorite Jim Rice card. Love this card. I like cards that show the joy of the sport, and I think this '78 Jim Rice does a fantastic job of just sharing his joy. But one of the things that Jim talks about is his Japanese collection, and I really enjoy that. I haven't picked anything up yet, but I thought I should at least share an Ichiro card. Of course, it's got the throwback design, but this is the Heritage Ichiro doing his classic standing there as he's pulling up his sleeve, getting ready to hit the ball, and probably will hit that at bat like he did most of at bats, it seems like. But I don't have any Japanese card, but between he and Dylan, they're really influencing me that way. I will definitely be looking to expand my collection that direction at some point as well. But anyway, this video's gone on too long. Thank you all if you've managed to make it through all of this. I appreciate that. I appreciate many of you that I did not mention. I love your stuff, love your content. And all of you that I did mention, thank you for what you do for the hobby, what you've done for me, and appreciate it. And we'll see you on the next one.